Okay, what's the only thing scarier than your creepy ex? Home inspections. So listen, you got to get a home inspection whenever you buy a house. But sometimes you go to read it and you feel like you need to call 911. So the thing you need to understand is that in this day and age of lawsuit happy people, these poor home inspectors need to essentially indemnify themselves from any wrongdoing. Read that as covering their butts, and rightfully so. If they turn around and they say that something's okay, and then it blows up half an hour after you close, they're looking down their flashlight at a lawsuit. What does that mean for you? Well, it means that there's going to be a lot of really scary looking stuff on your home inspection report. Now, most of the time, in most cases, it's not that big a deal. In some cases, it's a very, very legitimate thing that you will need to be sure that either the seller has fixed by a qualified professional, or that you get a credit to have it fixed by a professional after you close. Okay, so let's talk about what some of those scary things are. So the big ticket item here is the term "at the end of its useful life." Okay, so everything in and about the house pretty much has what they call a useful life, or an average lifespan. So for a roof, it can be 20 years or possibly 50, depending on the roof that's on the house. Appliances can be 5 years. Heaters can be 15 or 20 years. Hot water heaters can be about 10 years. The list goes on and on. So if you're buying a house that's about 20 years old, if nothing's been replaced, guess what? Almost everything on that home inspection is going to say that it is at the end of its useful life. So you're going to need to go in buying that particular house, knowing that potentially you're going to have to replace pretty much everything in a fairly short amount of time. Possibility is always going to be there. At the same time, if the sellers have maintained all of these things, they can last much longer. But in order to what? Homeowners, home inspectors indemnify themselves. Home inspector pretty much has to say that about each and everything that hasn't been replaced. Again, sometimes it's something, sometimes it's nothing. A lot of times it's nothing, but that's not something that you want to leave to chance ever. Okay, then you might see the inspector put in, "It is strongly suggested that you have a qualified licensed electrician take a look at something." Guys, again, it may be absolutely nothing, but always, always, always request that the seller will repair anything that is questionable on the electrical, because potentially it's going to be a fire hazard. Don't play with that. If a home inspector finds it and writes about it, it usually needs a look and a repair. Last one is probably going to be the scariest, the structural. The foundation is essentially what keeps your house from caving in on itself, probably the most important element of the home. If your home inspection comes back saying it is strongly suggested that you have a qualified licensed engineer take a look, do not pass go, do not collect $100, call a licensed engineer. Why? I just experienced this about a month ago. I was showing a house and the wall in the basement appeared to be bowing in a little bit. I knew it was definitely going to be an issue, which I warned the buyers about. Hey, listen, we're going to need to look into this, make sure we point it out to the home inspector. But even I didn't know how bad it truly was. That's why I'm not an engineer, and I don't pretend to be one. You see, it was a fix and flip house. There were things done to try to hide the issue. And the one thing I did not realize was that in the time of them buying the house to the time that they listed the house, the wall had actually moved in even further. The wall was essentially breathing, according to the guy who inspected it. The hot, the cold, the rain, all of that pressure on the foundation wall, that wall was starting to give. And it was enough of a scare to the buyer that they chose to move on to another property, and rightfully so. Foundation issues are not for the faint of heart. Anyway, hopefully your home inspection won't be so scary and will be fairly uneventful, but don't get nervous when you see these things in writing. Whatever you do not skip a home inspection. Come on, hit that button. You know you wanna.